we're rolling now.
Oh.
I'm going to count us down.
Yeah?
3,
It's
2.
time for...
You're listening to Missing Out with Lex Michael and Tari J. Let's start the show.
Hey guys, welcome back to Missing Out. I'm Tari J.
I'm Lex Michael.
And this, if you haven't heard, what we do here is we introduce each other to different media, whether it is movies, music, television, spoken word, books, contemporary media as a concept, or the concept of death. I don't know. It's a bunch of stuff that we introduce each other to. We talk about how it's built us up as people, and we hope that it builds you up as the audience listening to this program. One could call us the retrospective that's introspective.
I like it.
Yeah, me too. So today, speaking of death,
Ooh.
Lex Michael brought in a wonderful album. Today we're going to be talking about the 1988 album by King Diamond called Them. Mm-hmm. It is the third album in his slate, a long slate that came shortly after Abigail, which is one of his most renowned albums.
Mm-hmm. And then Fatal Portrait before that.
Oh, yeah.
And then before that, he was lead singer of Merciful Fate.
Yeah. So that's King Diamond. If you haven't heard of him, he's a very prolific creator of media. And so I have to ask, Lex Michael, why is it you decided to share this piece of media with me?
'Cause it's metal as fuck.
That's true. It is very metal. How did you find this?
Okay, so I was, I forget now, 15 or 16 probably, when Clerks 2 came out, written and directed by Kevin Smith. And on that soundtrack, there are 2 King Diamond tracks from this album. 2 on the soundtrack. I think only one is used in the movie, but they play Welcome Home when they when the new and improved Jay and Silent Bob are introduced pretty early in the movie.
Okay.
So I heard the couple of songs in the soundtrack, and when I listened to Welcome Home, I was like, oh my god, like this dude's like thrashing super hard. This is like crazy metal. I'm like feeling myself like throw my fists above my head and I'm like rah, like kind of like rage into it. And then I had this moment where I'm like, wait a second, is this dude wailing about his grandma? What's up with that? That's not usually considered to be a super metal subject matter.
I don't know. Grandmas are pretty metal, you know? They raise children and then those children raise other children. That's pretty fucking metal. That takes a lot of skill and consideration.
Sure.
And decision making. Yeah. Hella metal.
Yeah. Yes. Super metal. But metal, when I think metal, I don't know about you, when I think metal, I think like winged demons with forked tongues and like fire and like, you know, just shit, real fucked up shit and like just like bloodletting and whatnot. So, you know, I was like, this dude's singing about his grandma. I'm fascinated by the juxtaposition of elements because he's talking to his grandma a lot.
Yeah.
This guy, like a lot. It's not like a passing reference to like, but no, like this seems to be the central subject matter. So I was intrigued. So then I sort of followed that to the full album, and I learned about this dude King Diamond, who was an avowed Satanist, who fronts this band, and I guess the genre is called like black metal or speed metal, and it sounds to me like music from, remember the F-Zero games? Like Captain Falcon from Super Smash?
Yeah.
The racing games he's from, F-Zero. A lot of the music sounds like that. Like if you played the Super Smash Brothers games, all of his sort of stages, the guitar, like the wailing riffs sound a lot like the music on a King Diamond album. And so that just had like a purchase in my ear very quickly.
Yeah.
And then I sort of discovered what he would do is like he would create these concept albums. He would tell these stories, like one big story beginning to end. That's what a concept album is.
Sometimes.
But these like really crazy, super macabre like horror stories.
Yeah.
And so I fell into this album because this was the album that I had, you know, kind of a direct line to from hearing those two songs, kind of spinning that soundtrack so many times. And yeah, I fell into this story, and I've listened to more King Diamond since then, but I keep coming back to this album. I finally purchased this album on vinyl, because it's just something about it now. I've internalized the entire thing, and I just find it to be so fucked up. You know what I mean? Like, we've talked on the show about how I respond really viscerally and almost primally to just extremity in as far as content in the media I consume. Not because I think such things are necessarily to be aspired to, or what's the word I'm thinking of? Emulated. There we go.
Got it.
That's the one. Not to think that such things are to be emulated, but something about it I just find endlessly entertaining. Taking a concept, something dark, as far as it can possibly go in a really sort of jarring, fundamentally, primally disturbing way.
Yeah.
And in that sense, I continue to respond to this album pretty deeply.
Interesting. So, if you haven't listened to the album, the concept is essentially this, and I'm going to go through the story from beginning to end.
Oh, let's do it.
Basically, there is King, his sister, Missy, and his mother, and they're in this house. They're waiting for their grandma to return. Their grandma comes back.
Yeah, the grandma's been incarcerated in an asylum for a long time. I forget if we hit exactly how many years she's been gone, but she's been gone for a long time, locked up in this madhouse.
Yeah, and nobody likes her. Like, one of the first lines you get about this lady is blah blah blah, that old bitch.
Well, those would be the voices, right? That'd be them.
I thought it was King and Missy at the beginning.
No, I think it could. Is it?
I think so.
I don't.
Because they're not fond of the old lady.
No, it's totally the demons, because the demons have that exchange where they're talking about how ridiculous it is that she's in the wheelchair and how like she's faking it, but she does make a good cup of tea.
Okay.
Because they're all about that sweet demon.
Oh,
tea.
hell yeah. So yeah, once grandma returns, she like starts hanging out in the attic, making tea, talking to nobody, and then King comes in and he's like, "Yo, what's going on?" And she's like, "This ain't for you." But then after a while, she's like, yo, come in, we gonna drink some tea together. But the tea involves them bleeding King's mom in order to get to the demon other side. It's like a drug, and like a psychedelic drug, using this tea, and they commune with demons and all that stuff. And then at a certain point, like, Missy, the sister, is like, yo, I don't think we should be doing this. This is bad. Mom's dying. And then the demons are like, yo, this bitch trying to infringe upon our good times. And then they attempt to chop her up. And then King's like, yo, man, in a moment of clarity, he's like, yo, I got to get outside, clear my head. But in the time that he's outside, the demons chop up Missy, throw her in the fireplace. And then he's like, fuck. So he lures the grandma outside. And then he's like, yo, I can't let you do this anymore. And he slits her throat. And he's like, I'm going to leave this house. But he gets arrested. And then they're like, hey, bro, you kill everybody? And he's like, I can't tell them about the demons. And then they're like, this guy's crazy. He's talking about demons. And then he goes to jail. He gets out of jail. And then from there, he goes back to the house, and the demons are like, yo, we forgive you. We just want you to come back. And he's like, never. And then the grandma's like, I know you killed me, but you can come back and I forgive you. And he's like, maybe. And that's the end of the album.
Yeah, sort of.
I feel like I nailed it.
That was a pretty solid overview, I guess, right? Like, that is what happens.
Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like, as from a concept album standpoint, it's an entertaining concept. It gets really dark, especially once you get to the, like, killing of Missy and like, even leading up, because he goes into high detail about, like, his mom losing complexion and, like,
right, like, as they're bleeding her.
Yeah.
Because they bleed her when they are making their tea, when grandmother's making the tea, because I guess she uses the tea to summon the spirits like Amon, who like they live in the house of Amon, right? And Amon, I looked up what Amon is in demonology, and essentially he's a Marquis of Hell who governs 40 infernal legions. But check this out, all right? I found this fascinating.
Okay.
So, all right, it's on Wikipedia. It's on Amon's Wikipedia page. The seventh spirit is Amon. He is great in power and most stern. He appeareth like a wolf with a serpent's tail, vomiting out of his mouth flames of fire. But at the command of the magician, he putteth on the shape of a man with dog's teeth, beset in a head like a raven, or else like a man with a raven's head simply. He telleth all things past and to come. He procureth feuds and reconcilieth controversies between friends. He governeth 40 legions of spirits.
Ooh.
So this is Amon. This is Amon, I guess, the demonic presence who has taken residence in the teapot.
Okay.
And all of these spirits are sort of little acolytes of Amon.
Yeah. So he's just like hanging out in that teapot, and then every so often people are like, "Yo, what's our orders, Amon?" Can I actually speak of Amon? There's this moment in, I think it's I want to say it is T.
Yes, and tea is when grandmother invites King into her room. They have tea time, and he sees, he had seen the night before in Invisible Guests, all of the teapots sort of rising and floating in the air. It's like, what the shit's going on? There's a crazy fucking demonic tea party happening in my house. I want to go to demon tea and shit.
Yeah.
And so grandma invites him in and starts to tell him about the secrets of the house and about how we make the special tea to summon the demons and whatnot. And they start bleeding the mom, because that's where you got to get blood from. And I guess like Missy was too young, which she alludes to later. Mm-hmm. But they bleed the mom into the tea. They summon the demons, and the demons like tell their stories and they laugh. And King becomes so intoxicated, like he becomes this interest. He's like, he gets drunk and he gets high just off of the presence of these demons. So much so that he loses his connection to the world under the sway of his grandmother and her demon cohorts, that he stops even caring that they're literally bleeding his mom to death to summon demons. Shit's fucked up.
Yeah. There's this line in that song where the grandma's explaining, and she's like, "This is Amon. That's what we call this house."
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I like that exposition, because it's just like,
that's an Invisible Guest.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
It makes me laugh. Yeah, I'm still like getting adjusted to which songs are, because like it is a very unbroken narrative. Like usually in concept albums, there's a lot more like I feel like I'm more used to you having to kind of like pull threads together and be like, oh, this is this and this is. But he's like, no, this is my story. It's like he wrote out like a prose narrative, and then he's like, bring in some music, and then he's like, I want to do this over your tunes. Yeah,
That sounds about right.
I mean, speaking of the speaking of the prose.
Yeah.
Have you listened to other King Diamond?
Yeah, nowhere near as extensively.
Okay. Are the albums you heard also kind of told in a single unbroken narrative, in terms of like from start to end you get a full story, or do they become like pieces?
Yeah, well, like I know Abigail's like that, and I know there's a follow-up. His follow-up album to this one is called Conspiracy, I believe, and it's a direct sequel where I think King is back at the house. I believe. I'm way less familiar with Conspiracy, but I think the primary antagonists are his mother and Dr. Landau. Dr. Landau from Twilight Symphony, the doctor who's like interrogating him at the end.
Yeah.
As they essentially try and break him down for their own purposes. But I believe at the end, King dies. I think maybe they like kill him somehow, and he threatens to haunt them and torment them from beyond the grave.
Okay.
But again, like, yes, I believe both. Like his kind of shtick is, I think that's his jam.
Yeah. I wonder, like, it almost feels like King Diamond wanted to be a horror writer, but was also like, I'm a famous musician. I might as well do both. I can't talk about King Diamond without doing a King Diamond impression.
It's great,
because
dude.
I just I get the appeal of him as a just as a person, because I've watched a bunch of interviews with him. He just talks like a normal person.
Yeah.
But like his persona as King Diamond, like you see his album cover and it's him with like the white makeup and he has like the crosses on his face, and like he's such a like a persona in the same way that like, you know, Slipknot has their masks, or Mudvayne also has masks, but then started doing the face paint, things like that.
Yeah.
Like it's a very big metal staple to have some kind of, I hesitate to say gimmick, but some kind of discerning feature.
Yes. Very, very presentational.
Yeah. And so like, I feel like when you are talking about King Diamond, you always have to I always feel like I have to talk about him as the persona, because like he's such a chill ass dude. Like you see interviews with him and he's just like, yeah, you know, like I'm just a Satanist, but like I mean it in like, not like, oh man, I'm gonna sacrifice some goats, but just like if you read the Satanist Bible, like, you know, there's some good tenets in there. I think it's really cool.
Right. Like his real name is Kim Bendix Peterson, and I feel like, yes, you're definitely not talking about Peterson. You're talking about King Diamond, like the concept itself, the idea. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I guess, since I mentioned those other bands, I want to talk about the music a little bit.
Yeah.
In that, like, I can, in hearing this album, I can hear a bunch of different bands who took kind of their sound a little bit from King Diamond. Like I can hear a bit of Slayer in there. I can hear a bit of not King Diamond. I can hear a bit of Dragon Force, which I think is most akin to your like F-Zero music.
Yeah, when the second you were sliding into things you feel were kind of influenced by King Diamond sound, Dragon Force was the first band that popped into my head.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
They play fast.
Hell yeah. And they're dope. I think also like 3 Inches of Blood, which is they're a more contemporary band, and they even have the like falsetto sound to them. I think the main difference between King Diamond and 3 Inches of Blood is that like King Diamond is horror themed, whereas they are medieval themed. So all of their stuff is about like knights and people fighting for glory or whatever.
Okay.
But like, you would imagine that the lead singer from King Diamond himself jumped out from his genre and just started doing 3 Inches of Blood, because they have the same exact sound, just different genre of music.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with 3 Inches of Blood.
You might like them I think if you specifically like the falsetto sound, then you'd like 3 Inches of Blood. If you don't, then you won't. I think I only like one song of theirs, and it's Deadly Sinners. I'm not a big falsetto guy, so it took me a couple listens of this album to really like get past that piece.
Yeah.
I think the instrumentation on it is very good. Which like, so for me, it feels like two separate albums. Like it feels like the band is doing their own thing and King Diamond is doing his own thing. And then they both came together and just like matched up the two albums.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Like, okay, can you think of examples?
I would say specifically, yeah. So I would say like specifically Invisible Guests, like is nothing. It's mostly just like crazy riffs. And then you get the narrative pieces, but like it starts out with just like, and then he like jumps in and does his thing, and like it happens a lot throughout the album where like you'll get all the crazy fun riffs and solos, and then like King Diamond will jump in, he'll tell his story, and then we'll go back to like crazy riffs and solos. So like I feel like, and I'm sure that like King Diamond worked with them and was like, let's instrument these together.
Right, like it is his band.
Yeah, I know.
It's not like they were guns for hire. He's like, write something. I'll figure out where I go. Just write something.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like with the way that the narrative goes, it feels like he is doing this passion project and is like, here are the pieces that I want to implement, and the rest, guys, do whatever you want to do. And so like they probably work together in that aspect, and that he's like, here's where I'm going to put the vocals. And then they're like, all right, great. Can I do a guitar solo here? And then he's like, yeah, do whatever you want. And then the other guy was like, yo, I really want to go crazy on the drums. And he's like, oh, that sounds good.
Sounds like Axl Rose.
I mean, yeah, that's what King Diamond sounds like. Is that not what he sounds like?
I don't think that's what he sounds like.
Okay, fine. I'll be King Diamond when he's interviewing. Yeah, I think it sounds good. Yeah. I think you're really good on the guitar. So like, yeah, do that. I can't do a Dutch accent, which I believe he's from Denmark.
I think he's Danish.
Yeah.
He's Danish.
So, and I won't even try, because it seems like anything I do will be offensive. So I'm just gonna go vaguely British. It'd be like, yeah, I like your guitars. Yeah.
Do that when he's giving a note in the studio and he's going in for another take and he's like, all right, we're gonna take it from this part, and then he goes right into the falsetto.
Right, of course.
Yeah, do that.
Yeah,
Do that
so
part.
he'd be like, yeah, I think we're gonna go up, and then we're gonna do the drum part again. All right, sounds great. Yeah, oh, Jenny Boots, oh, Grandma. Yeah, that was really good. I thought it was really, I really dug that. I mean, I think we're gonna go B minus and then C flat, and then I think we're gonna do a little bit of a leitmotif back in from out from the asylum. All right, we're gonna do that. So, yeah, Grandma took the tea. Oh yeah. Did you get that? You want press and record?
I like that
all
you
right,
picked
sounds
the
good.
one there's no falsetto on. I also really like that your King Diamond is just an Axl Rose and also an Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah, that's what it. Well, technically, I was choosing to take a motif from out from the asylum, so they just take a little piece of music and then implement it later. So that was the note. Yeah. So because if you're going to do a concept album, you have to make sure that it feels complete musically in addition to narratively.
Motifs.
So yeah, you have to kind of bring back, if you can, you want each of the individual characters to have their own kind of theme, even if it's very light, so that when it's their time to shine, you can really play that up.
Right.
John Williams is the master at this.
He's really good at that.
He's really great. I know that what I'm saying sounds facetious, but it's true.
It really is. Yes, the tone might throw you, but no, this is actually very valid insight.
Yeah, I have a tone problem. Yeah. A lot of people say that my tone is sometimes dissonant from my true meaning. Like sometimes I'm being super sincere, and they're like, it sounds like you're being facetious, and I'm like, this is just how I share feelings. Fuck face. Yeah, that's how that works.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really dug the sound. Like, this is like King Diamond is something that I think that I would be able to like work out to, or just like jam on while I'm riding in my car or something to that effect. 'Cause like it does hearken to a lot of other bands that I currently listen to.
Yeah.
I think that if I could get the instrumental version, I think that would be my preference, mostly because I literally can't take falsetto.
Yeah.
Like it's there's something about, I think that I have the same like block for falsetto that you have for anime, and that like I like there's a barrier of entry. Like I get used to it over time, but like it's hard for me to like dig into for the first time.
It's interesting. It doesn't bother me on this album. I'm not really. I've never been like a huge metalhead.
Okay.
Like in high school, my buddy James was like always like this big metalhead. So I was exposed to it through him.
Yeah.
But a lot of the bands he listened to was not my cup of tea. It was just way too thrashy, and he listened to the like scream, like that stuff.
Yeah.
And that never really did it for me.
Okay.
But I didn't listen to too many other bands that had the same sound. I'm a little surprised, honestly, that it never bugged me like when I first got into this album. But I think it's just so part of the persona to me, and I'm a big fan of the pageantry of it, because like the dude like really like he like if you've never seen what King Diamond looks like, go Google it. But if you can't like Google safe, like if you're driving, don't Google right now. That's unsafe. It's a poor decision. But it's kind of like, if you know, like, I'm not a big wrestling guy either, but I remember the ones who were super big when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Like, Sting, the wrestler with like the black and white face paint, a little bit like that, but I think with like some crosses.
Yeah.
And
Or
whatnot.
if Crow. Like
or the Crow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, the Crow. I feel like, yes, between professional wrestling and the Crow, I feel like everybody now has something that they can appreciate.
Yeah.
But like on stage, he really like plays up the pageantry. He uses a microphone handle that's made out of a femur bone and a tibia bone in the shape of a cross. And for the longest time, he would use a human skull on stage as a prop, and he called the skull Melissa. But in the 80s, somebody stole Melissa. So he doesn't have
Why
Melissa
would you
anymore.
do that?
I don't know, man. Somebody just really didn't appreciate that the Satanist had a little skull buddy and wanted to take the little skull buddy away.
I mean, or they were just like, this will be my piece of King Diamond forever.
Yeah, like maybe another Satanist stole like a rival Satanist to use in a ritual.
That's true. I mean, I really like, you can hear how much fun he's having in the music, and I think that is something I can appreciate, because it does, to me, I think I said this earlier, or maybe I just thought it, but like, it does really feel like his own passion project. Like, it feels like something he's always wanted to do, or something he just loves doing.
Isn't there a bizarre, like, considering how demonic it is, it's like it's gleefully demonic, and there's almost like an aw shucks, let's put on a show vibe to the entire thing, like in the way you're describing, because it does seem like he's having such a good time telling this really fucked up story.
Right,
yeah.
Like, I feel like if someone were to, guys, Hollywood is all about, adapting things. If someone were to try to adapt like a King Diamond album, like, it would be super easy.
Yeah.
Because like, one, the story literally tells itself. But like, two, like, if you're looking to do like a rock opera, like, this is the way to do it. Like, there's already an operatic feel to it. You already have your characters. You already have most of the like lyrics. You just need to, if you wanted to sparse in some like dialogue, then you can just pick and choose what will be your like.
There'd have to be like an animal sidekick,
right?
To
of
get
course.
it made.
Yeah.
It would have to be in space. Like, it would have to be super high budget too.
Would it though?
Like, it would have to to get it made. Like, yeah, you'd have to go either super low budget, which is more likely. But I want to shoot high, and we do like super, like, we try and 4-wall it.
Okay.
And it's like put Winnie the Pooh in it or some shit. Like, that's like, imagine if Christopher Robin was kind of like them. Right, but instead of the grandmother coming home and wreaking havoc, Christopher Robin comes back to Wonderland, and the denizens of the 100-Acre Wood are like them, and they like descend upon Christopher Robin, and they're like, didn't he have a wife in the Christopher Robin movie? Isn't it like
Probably.
Haley Atwell? Like,
Sure.
so the wife is there, and they like bloodlet the wife to make the tea, and they draw Christopher Robin further and further in. That's what you got to do, man. You got to like brand it. You got to like put something like a recognizable thing we can sell. You got to make it for $200 million, and then it has to make $1 billion. So imagine like Winnie the Pooh bloodletting Christopher Robin's wife to put in like to some honey or some shit, and he like feeds it to him and whatnot, and like Christopher Robin's eyes glaze over, and he's just like laughing, and he's listening to everybody's stories, like Owl is telling stories and shit, and Christopher Robin's just rocking back and forth, just this big grin on his face, and he's so disconnected from everything, he doesn't even care that they're bleeding out his wife for the honey.
I mean, that'd be the easiest paycheck that Haley Atwell ever made. But also, yeah, I mean, I can see it now. Like Tigger's jumping in there, he'll like bounce and be like, "It's time for the tea."
Yep. Yep.
That's how he talks, right? Yeah,
Pretty close.
yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
Your Tigger is pretty spot on.
Great. Move over. Actor who plays Tigger.
I guess isn't it Jim Cummings?
Yes. I just couldn't remember. Move over, Jim Cummings. More like Jim Going. Oh, jeez. I mean, I could also imagine it. So, I want to say about a decade ago, Green Day turned their American Idiot album into like a full-blown stage musical. Yeah. So I could even see it being something as that. So like if you're not going to go high budget, Christopher Robin style, you can go like stage play. It'll be super easy. You just get the inside of the house done, and then if you need to, you get the exterior of the house to just like wheel in.
Yeah,
and
you
close
just need
in.
a tiny bit. Like
Yeah.
you need the house will take up most of the set will be the house, and then you
Right.
have just enough off to like stage right maybe. And that's your outside, like just enough to create atmosphere for the duration of the show.
Yeah.
And then to have the actor playing King just have somewhere to go and collapse.
Right.
And then you can sort of, hopefully you can kind of slide over ever so slightly at the end of the show. Like you can slide the house a little further over to its side of the stage, so you can kind of focus more on the outside when he's talking to like the police and Dr. Landau.
Yes.
Yeah, right. But yeah, you could do the house. You need to have like really cool production design, and then you have to. The hard thing that would be figuring out all of the gags, like getting the teapots to rise, and getting like how do you sort of depict the spirits? Like how do you depict them?
Ooh. I mean, I feel like you would do kind of the black suit method in that like you have people in full black suits kind of lifting the things, and then as like they start drinking the tea, maybe like they rip off the black suits and they're like full-blown people.
Oh, all right. I like
something
it.
like that.
I like it.
So then
And you could have
can't
the chairs on like basically like some type of wire, some type of like strong wire that is hopefully kind of translucent, perhaps. I don't really know how you would do the chairs because you'd have to make it like everybody's kind of floating around and shit, and the teapots are floating around. It's like in Mary Poppins where they're doing like the laughter, right? Where the laughter makes everybody float up off the ground.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that.
Okay. I mean, I think you could still do like people like the way that they do the like chairlift in weddings.
Oh, you do it with like just the suit, like the blackout suits.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just like that.
Yeah, actually, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah,
yeah.
and then you shoot it like you shoot the like blacklight looking thing on. Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah, I think we're already knee deep in making this thing.
We're committed now.
Yeah. Because we have the stage setting. We have like we just need like to figure out the lighting. We need to figure out like who's gonna play our King Diamond. Maybe it'll be him. Maybe it'll be like I don't know, Ewan McGregor.
Oh my God! If we could get Ewan McGregor, that'd be amazing. Do you think Ewan McGregor can wail like this? Fuck, that dude could do anything.
Yeah, I believe in him.
We're gonna get Ewan McGregor, and then we're gonna put Winnie the Pooh in it as well.
Yeah,
Winnie the Pooh is gonna be the grandma.
Ooh, I'm into it. Isn't that also Jim Cummings?
It's also Jim Cummings. Yes.
Oh.
No, I still like it if it's the grandma. The grandma's the grandma, but like everybody else, the demons and the spirits and stuff, for the 100-acre wood denizens.
Yeah. Well, doesn't actually. I think I had read that King Diamond has a lady who plays grandma for like concerts. So I feel like we could also just get that lady.
Yeah, if she's still alive, we should reach out to her.
I mean,
who are
I
her
think
people?
so. No, I think there's currently like a lady who does it when he like does concerts. So like there's a rotation of like grandma. So we'll get her. I think
what we
also
want to do, we got to get the original grandma.
Oh, we could.
We don't.
Okay.
We don't want like like the only the kind of regional tour grandma. We want the original kind of international, renowned, no substitutes. It is butter, grandma.
It's true because original grandma's smooth as fuck. Oh man, she's the smoothest. And And then, I mean, let's see, Darren Criss, he just won an Emmy, I think, or he's good. He's good at stuff. So, like, we can get him to, if we can't get Ewan McGregor, we can get that guy. I'm sure he's trying to get that EGOT, you know what I'm saying? So we gotta use this as EGOT bait.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, bro.
This is totally going to win an Emmy,
And it's gonna win a Tony,
a
my dude.
Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the album I think won a Grammy. No, this album
But
didn't win a
not
Grammy.
the original cast album musical.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No, not our fucking album. So it's got to win. That's going to win a Grammy. The show's going to win a Tony.
Yeah.
The televised live musical that they inevitably do is going to win the Emmy. And then I guess they'll do a big screen. What's the guy who did Les Mis? Was his name Tom Hooper? Will do the big Oscar bait movie adaptation, which will win the Academy Award.
Also starring Russell Crowe. Russell Crowe will be Amon.
I like him. I like to imagine him as king, like doing all the wailing.
Ooh. I mean, I think it would sound the same to me.
I don't think it would be necessarily. I don't think it would sound exactly like King Diamond does, but I want to see it.
I mean, I was thinking we'd just bring back Hugh Jackman to be King Diamond in that case.
Would be really good.
So, like, yeah.
We cast it with everybody from Les Mis.
Of course.
That we can. Eddie Redmayne is them.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yes. And then
Anne Hathaway can be Missy.
Ooh, yeah. Because she's got to die.
And Russell Crowe is who's Russell Crowe?
Russell Crowe's Amon.
Oh, he's Amon, or like the grandma.
Right.
I would watch Russell Crowe's the grandma.
I would be down for.
Like the wolf in Little Red Riding Hood. Like it's clearly just Russell Crowe in a wig. Like they barely try and old lady him up.
Oh yeah.
Really? Yeah,
and he still nails it.
Yeah,
kills it.
He wins. He wins for best supporting.
Right, of course.
Yeah. And
best
then
supporting actress, he like takes it.
Yeah. And then who's the mother can be like? Wasn't Helena Bonham Carter was in that, right? In Les Mis?
She's in all of things. Yes. She's in all of things.
She wasn't she the Madame Thénardier?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was.
She's
okay.
Master of the house with
with
Sacha Baron Cohen.
Yeah. Okay, so she can be mother.
Yeah. I'm into it. I mean, though, she's just there to be bled, and she'd just eat those scenes up. Like, no one could focus on anything else, because she'd be like, she'd be like, oh, drink every drop of it until you are full. Drink me. They're like, ma'am, you're supposed to be silent. You're supposed to be losing. You're supposed to be getting weaker. And she's like, I am weak as the days that are 7. And you're like, ma'am. We couldn't control him. So then she just started doing Harry Potter quotes. She just kept yelling, I killed Sirius Black. Yep. Perfect movie. Perfect
really
casting.
Good. It's really good. It's really good. And they just don't, it feels like they just let her go and they didn't cut any of it.
Nope, not at all. You thought it was starring Hugh Jackman and Russell Crowe, but no,
she's got the most
star.
screen time in this movie. Her scenes are these 20-minute monologues while they're bleeding her, and Hugh Jackman and Russell Crowe just look more and more impatient. And at a certain point, it's clear they realize that no cut is forthcoming, and they just start to look bored. And then it cuts, and suddenly they're back in it because they shot that stuff earlier.
I was gonna talk about other bands and things. Because metal is very renowned for concept albums and things of that sort. You were talking about how you weren't big on metal kind of growing up.
Not like I disliked it. It's just it wasn't my scene, especially. Yeah. There were a few, like, I got into Metallica a bit for a while, and there were a couple other bands, but for the most part, like, it was not really a scene I was part of.
Yeah, and I think that, like, one, it's hard to get into not into the metal scene, like there's a bouncer or anything, but like I specifically also wasn't a big fan of like the thrashy, screamy stuff.
You know,
like
do you know what it is for me? I think, and this is also like big difference between that and King Diamond. A lot of the thrashy, screamy stuff feels so genuinely angry to me that even when I did feel genuinely angry, it's like I don't necessarily want to feed that. It doesn't feel like it's personally helping me vent what I need to vent.
Yeah.
And if anything, it's just sort of compounding it. Like I don't need to feed it anymore.
Yeah.
So that was always a bit of a sort of a barricade to entry for me. Whereas King Diamond, I think you can get a lot of the same, you know, it's about as fucking metal as metal gets.
Yeah.
But it feels gleeful by comparison. It feels fun, and it feels like the kind of let's put on a show ethos that I was kind of talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Like so much more accessible for that to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I agree, because like a lot of metal, especially like you bring up Metallica, was very much about just being like ragey at some system or at something, and it's a lot of like screaming and like Metallica itself has a lot more of a melodic sound than like, let's say, like an OTEP or even like a Mastodon or something like that, where it's a lot of just like
right.
Which I feel like I have a general rule that if I can't understand the words, then I don't want to waste my time. Not like it is less valid, but like I like to be able to resonate with the music I listen to. And so like if I can't understand, if I have to look up what you're saying to try to get it, and sometimes like, for example, I listened to this band called Avenged Sevenfold. Their first album, Sounding the Seventh Trumpet, was very like throat groany, and like the lyrics were great when I looked them up, but like I couldn't get into it just because like I need to be able to resonate with what's being said without like having to double listen. And like as the lead singer got had to have throat surgery, he ended up having a more melodic sound, and you kind of understood him more, and he started singing a bit more, which essentially like elevated the band itself and made them it made them stand out from a bunch of other bands, which like people felt like they were more derivative of, and gave them their own unique sound. And so like that's what I really enjoy in terms of like my metal bands, is being able to like, one, sing along, because I ain't got the throat for that shit. But two, also like I feel like you can convey a lot more precise emotion when you can hear the sounds, and the emotions are put into words, whereas like when it's that raw guttural emotion that you get from a lot of like black metal and like screamo, things of that sort, it's a lot like it's you could try to like sing along, or you could try to like feel the same thing, but it's a lot of energy, and it's a lot of just like it's too raw of an emotion for me.
Yeah, and it always felt to me like some of what I heard that I didn't quite click with felt like it just took all of it very seriously.
Yeah.
And I don't know how seriously you could take it. Like you're venting something, I guess, that's legitimate, right? In a legitimate, valid way. But like, like you're doing the Batman.
Yeah.
Essentially, you're doing like the Christian Bale Batman voice throughout your entire catalog of music. So how deadly serious can you possibly take it? Again, part of why it's easy for me to gravitate towards somebody like King Diamond, who's so clearly like, I mean, yeah, he really is a Satanist. But he does clearly it's a show. It's pageantry. He doesn't take it all too seriously, and there is that sense of fun to it, which is way more, again, like to me personally, way more appealing. Like I get mad about stuff. I go through my phases like anybody else, but I don't know that I've ever felt that type of anger that would be soothed or aided by like slamming guitar sounds and Christian Bale Batman voice for an hour at a time.
Yeah. And even from a technical standpoint, a lot of I don't want the audience to think that I'm just bashing like thrashy throat metal or anything, but like yeah, you were talking about how there's a theatricality to King Diamond, and like that, I think is where ultimately a lot of these bands get to. Like I was watching a video about different metal bands getting vocal lessons, because a lot of these bands, especially when they're coming up, they try to harness this like raw emotion, and they just like scream their voices out and end up essentially losing the one thing that they have as a vocalist, which is their instrument. Right. And so like the instructor, or the person who's doing the vocal therapy, was talking about how like you have to you can't rely on that raw emotion. You have to like feel the feelings as if you're in a play. Like you have to feel it as if you are not necessarily fabricating it, but like your vocal range increases if you can essentially play it like an instrument, as opposed to just essentially blasting the air out and trying to get that across.
Right, you have to sort of act the song, as it were. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was that.
Oh, that was the whole
thing.
Oh, I didn't realize that was it.
Yeah.
I thought this was leading to something.
I mean, I was like adding to what you were saying.
Oh no, that's a good point. I don't mean to like shut you down that hard.
No, it's cool.
I feel like I shut you down super hard
How
just now.
dare you?
Whoops.
You meanie.
Sorry.
What a meanie weenie.
No, but I agree. That's absolutely true. And again, like there's so much performance on this album, because he's playing effectively everybody.
Right.
Like he's doing all. He's king. Both anytime you quote unquote hear him speak, but also of course the big falsetto sort of first person narrator voice over the whole thing.
Yeah.
He plays the grandma. He plays Missy. Does the mother ever speak? I think he just talks about how mother's getting weaker a lot.
Right.
But yeah, it's all him. All him playing different characters, but everybody's got a different voice. Mm-hmm. And there's just so much. Yeah, there's just so much theatricality to it. We need to develop this as a stage show, because now I need to see what that house looks like fully production designed, up in a stage space with the lighting, the whole deal.
I mean, I feel like it would, like, speaking of Helen Bonham Carter,
that's her name.
Yep. I feel like it would have a very Tim Burton-esque feel to it. Like, I definitely feel like it would be oddly slanted. It would be very like creaky wood-esque interior with like mold everywhere and cobwebs and shit.
Oh, but it's like, see, like the house is on the album cover, and you can see like it's a multi-story house, and then there's like that tower room in the attic with the light on.
Yeah.
So you could kind of do this. You could do it wouldn't be to scale unless you had a giant theater space, but you could do kind of a small, like either corner it off or have like a house that sort of opens up that isn't fully to scale.
Yeah.
But gets enough of the idea across, has enough like the 2 floors and then the attic, sort of its own kind of space at the top of the set.
Yeah.
And you just have the thing kind of open like a book. Mm-hmm. And then close as necessary.
Yeah.
It'd be very expensive, but it'd be very cool.
I mean, yeah. I think we can get Lin-Manuel on this, and then I mean, once we got that name, like the money will just start raining in. You know what I'm saying?
Does he want to play King?
I'm sure he does.
Is that that'd be? And you know what? If he's hesitant because he's not really a falsetto guy, just do the whole thing as raps. Just do an adaptation, an all hip hop adaptation of them. I mean, that would be dope.
Yeah, and he also, like, he wrote the songs to Moana, so, like, none of those were rappy, I guess, except for You're Welcome. But, like, you know, he's got the
I know he's
got composition
he's
chops,
got a ton of range. I know. I don't mean to
Yeah.
pigeonhole him as one thing, but now I desperately want a hip hop adaptation of them.
Oh, I mean, then we got to hit up Lin-Manuel, bruh. Mm-hmm. I mean, what's he doing right now? Promoting Mary Poppins, doing more high scale movies. You know, he's not busy, right? He's not busy. He's not doing anything. He's just chilling out. Yeah,
Totally.
yeah,
Yeah.
If not him, then I don't know, Alan Menken.
Yes, Alan Menken.
Yeah.
Alan Menken.
I mean, my first choice is actually, I forget his name, but he did the Frank something or other. He did Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
The Broadway musical?
Yes.
Jekyll and Hyde?
Yes.
David Hasselhoff.
No. Okay. All right. Frank Wildhorn. That's what it is.
Frank Wildhorn.
So yeah, I mean, my top pick would be Frank Wildhorn, who did Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. I think he also did the Scarlet Pimpernel. Pimpernel? Penn and Teller. Scarlet Penn and Teller.
Scarlet Penn and Teller.
Yep, that's him. He did the Scarlet Penn and Teller. What else did he do? He also did Dracula Das Musical. Das Musicals. Yeah. So that would be my top pick.
Okay. From the team that brought you Dracula Das Musical.
I mean, yeah. If you can't have a guy who's the Dracula Das Musical, which is perfect for a album made by a Satanist.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's same genre.
Right. It's a match made in hell.
Yeah.
Coming this fall.
From the team that brought you Dracula Das Musical, it's them. From the album by King Diamond.
She cried mine all of her glory. See, King Diamond and Missy. Ooh, what happens to Missy? Find out on the road coming to a theater near you.
The teacups will float.
Shall float here. Copyright patent spendings.
We are going to get Helena Bonham Carter to play this on the tour.
Oh, she's not doing skinny things. Where am I from?
I'm sorry, who is this man?
Who?
The guy who made Jekyll and Hyde.
Yes.
And Dracula Das Musical.
Yes.
Who is this?
He's Frank Wildhorn.
Frank Wild.
Why do you hate him?
Frank Wildhorn.
Frank Wildhorn. He's the Scarlet Pimpernel. Oh, Altus Excalibur, das Musical. Barney, das Musical. Hurts me. This hurts me so much. Oh, jeez.
So we'll get him.
He's sold.
He's listening. He's like, wow, they're clearly big fans.
Oh man, I think he also did the the American version of the Death Note musical, but don't quote me on that. I'm not looking it up. Don't quote me. Don't at me.
We just lost him.
He's like, you don't know me, and you know nothing of my work.
I just realized I am offended.
Anyway, long story short, I think this would be great as a musical.
I would love to see this. Yes, and the whole album is under 50 minutes. So you could do, depending on the energy of your cast, we could do 2 shows in a day for sure.
Yeah, probably.
Like you could definitely do 2 shows in a day with your full cast. They'd have to King would have to be on full vocal rest every other moment of his life.
Yeah.
But you could do multiple shows a day because it's under an hour. People, it's not like it's a 3-hour show with an intermission in the middle, right? Like that's a lot of time to pay a babysitter for a lot of people who want to go out and see it. So it's like a 1-hour show, no intermission. You just go in, sit, 48 minutes later or whatever, everybody goes out being like, what the fuck, what was that? That was a lot. It was so good. They fucking chopped up that little girl. What? Honey, let's go home and chop up the kids. And then, after that, get in another crowd 9-hour
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
And then everybody actually's got to go home and rest and stuff. Because I bet it's going to be very physically taxing.
Probably. I mean, I actually imagine it being like a 2-hour play.
Or you want to pad it out?
Well, a little bit.
With additional songs?
Because you got to be like, who is King Diamond? Who is Missy? Like, what's their story? Why was the grandmother in the asylum? You really gotta fill these in. Gotta make these stories really resonate with your audience. Who arcs in this? Does anyone arc? I mean, most people end up dead by the end.
King arcs, I think, a little bit.
Does he?
Because he's relatively innocent at the beginning of the story.
Yeah.
And then he sort of falls prey to the machinations of the grandmother and them, and like so much so that when Missy tries to snap him out of it, because Missy's concerned about the fact that they're like bleeding their mother dry, he's like, okay, yeah, I'm starting to blah 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 whatever, and so she hands him the phone. Because she thinks he's starting to snap out of it. And not only does he not call for help, he like cuts the cord. So he's fully succumbed to it. And at a certain point, he snaps out of it. And he has to sort of turn on the grandma. Like once Missy gets all chopped up, thrown into the fire, he runs outside. The spell is lessened. Then he goes in and he pulls his grandma outside. And I guess he like rips out her throat with his teeth.
Yeah.
This is kind of the vibe I got. But he sort of arcs. He's got like not a hero's journey necessarily, but he's got a little journey he goes on.
Right.
He's changed by the end.
Yeah. I mean, all right, well, how far in do we kill his son? And then how far in do we make him duel his greatest best friend?
What is this reference?
It's definitely not a Hamilton reference. It's
All
not-
right. I got it.
Definitely not that. How do we make King? So we need to add a best friend character that eventually turns into his greatest enemy.
Your best friend / sidekick, yeah.
Right, of course. It'll be the animal sidekick. He ends up dueling this animal sidekick.
It's like it's like a wallaby.
Yeah.
It'll be a wallaby because somebody on the writing staff, like developing the new material, the ancillary material, when they're going to prepare the book for the show, was a really big like early '90s Nickelodeon fan and really misses Rocco and like really wanted to throw a wallaby into the story.
Ooh.
A satanic wallaby.
Yeah, of course. Do you imagine that being a person in a wallaby suit, or do we actually get a real wallaby to like be on this stage every day?
So I think what we're gonna do in a world where they could do like the Tupac hologram.
Yeah.
I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna have a CG character, like a CG, like Kevin Hart can be the voice.
Yeah.
It'll be a CG character, but projected via hologram seamlessly onto the stage. So
Okay.
it will seem like there's an actual like. Obviously realized through computer and probably some motion capture, but a real wallaby speaking English, like interacting with our protagonist on stage.
Yeah, totally, like a Hatsune Miku kind of situation.
Yeah, just like that.
Yeah. It's a hologram, it is a hologram idol in Japan. All the nerds out there know exactly what I'm talking about, right, guys? Hatsune Miku. So hot today. Ah, jeez. All right. I think I have to wrap it up now.
How do we fund this?
All right, guys.
You got to go out and sleep with a bunch of little old ladies.
All right. I mean, experience makes a greater experience, they say. So I'm into it. Is this for money, or am I just doing that? Is that just...
Right. You come back to me and I'm like, all right, where are all the checks? And you're like, checks?
I show you my little black book, and I'm like, here the checks, baby.
It's like, you didn't get checks? You're like, no. And I go like, what were you doing that for? You did so many of those. What were you doing it for then, if not for the money? And you like, 4?
Yeah.
4? What 4?
Right.
What 4? What 4 is there, bitch? I love it. It's who I am.
Yeah, don't kink shame me. Don't at me. Jeez. Yeah, guys, follow our Patreon. I guess we'd have to do a GoFundMe. Guys, fund our GoFundMe. We're in our first stage of funding for the King Diamond The Musical. I mean, most of the funds will go towards buying the rights. The next bit of funds will go towards stage production. The next stage will go towards paying our salaries while we write the musical. And then the next stage will go towards securing a venue. All right, guys, cool.
But
Thanks for
if anybody knows how to reach King Diamond directly and wants to let us know so we can pitch him our idea, or wants to let him know that this is our idea, don't take credit. Don't be rude.
Yeah,
Copyright.
seriously.
This adaptation concept. We can't copyright this concept.
I mean,
it's not ours.
All right. Patent pending, registered trademark.
Yes, of this adaptation, stage musical adaptation of King Diamond's Them, patent pending, Lex and Tari.
Yeah, as far as you know, we've submitted something to the WGA.
Yes,
as far as you know.
So let King Diamond know that we're looking to partner up.
Yeah, totally. And he'll be like, I'm ready.
Kim Bendix Peterson.
Jeez. Well, Lex, thank you for introducing this to me. Thank you for introducing this to our audience. I'm sure that they got quite the kick out of listening to it and also listening to us be idiots.
So, yeah. So you did say, though, this is something you could actually potentially see yourself listening to more in the future. Even though you're not necessarily about the falsetto necessarily.
Right, yeah. I think I could definitely get past the falsetto and really like dig into the music. Like, I'm a very big like music riff dude. You give me some sweet guitars and I'm all about it. Especially because it's so similar to the stuff I already listen to. It's not a very big jumping off point. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that like this album being in my MP3 player, which I have, which is separate from my phone. Yeah, guys, old school. I think if a King Diamond song came up, I'd be like, "Fuck yeah, treadmill time," which is how I respond to good songs.
Fuck yeah, treadmill time.
Yeah, you know.
I would say from here, like if you feel like this might kind of be a vibe you can get into, I'd recommend obviously Abigail would be his other kind of biggest album. Like that's the one when you kind of search him on Apple Music. Essential album is Abigail. So that's where I would point you next.
Yeah. So Abigail, then Them, then The Conspiracy.
Then Conspiracy, yes, for the continued adventures of King and Dr. Landau. Dr. Landau! I really like saying that. Like that.
Oh, man. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. Lex Michael, where can the people find you if they're looking to talk more about some King Diamond?
Be in my room up in the attic, talking to the invisible guests, drinking some blood tea.
Nice. All right.
All over social media at the Lex Michael. Get out of here.
And you can find me at Tari J. That's TAURIJAY.
Stop nodding at me.
But you can also find the show at Missing Outcast. That's MISSINGOUTCAST on Twitter. And guys, if you're super into something, hit us up on the Missing Out hotline. It is 978-MISS-OUT. That number again is 978-MISS-OUT. And let us know what you're into, and we'll integrate it into our Missing Out Mondays segment. We really want to hear from you. We really want to know what you're into. We really want to share the things that you love with you and other people. So please do that. If you haven't had a chance to do so, make sure to subscribe so that you get this in your feed every Tuesday. And also leave a comment if you love what we're doing. Let people know. That bumps us to the top of the charts and helps other people find us, because as we've said before, the best way to advertise is word of mouth. So please do so. Again, thank you guys for joining us. We really appreciate your support. And I guess we'll see you next week! Now!
We should definitely cut that entire little bit.
Yeah, just jump in and correct me.
Yeah.
You'd be like, no, you fuck. It's the demons and you're a stupid idiot and I hate your fucking face. I'll eat your dick.
Did you know a turkey puppet once ran for the presidency of Ireland? Did you know that meat once rained from the skies of Kentucky? Did you know that there was an emperor of the United States for a while? Then listen to the Wiki Ship Down podcast.
We live in an age when the sum total of humanity's knowledge can be found in your pocket on a smartphone at any given time. But when that knowledge is peer editable, like it is on Wikipedia, what does that say about mankind? So follow us down the digital rabbit hole as we drink, joke, and curse our way through the random button on Wikipedia and see where our journey through humanity's knowledge takes us.
While you're at it, follow us on all social media at WikiShipDown. I'm Ruth Ann.
I'm Ryan, and be sure to find us every Wednesday on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, or wherever you listen to podcasts.